Chapter 6 6 p.m. UTC-6, 1 a.m. UTC+1. My ears picked up sounds which gradually morphed into words. I opened my eyes to find myself, of course, back in the hospital. My parents were seated, Mum by the side and Dad at the foot of the bed. Their conversation paused when Dad noticed I was awake. "How do you feel, Kyle?" I rubbed my head and answered groggily, "Not too bad, but I woke up in Paris and I wish I could have—" I stopped abruptly. Mum and Dad laughed awkwardly. "Well, I'd have to say that I've wished I would wake up in Paris too," Mom added, trying to find humor in what sounded like brain injury babble. A silent moment. I saw they were eating. "What do you have there?" I asked, changing the topic. "Just some fast food burgers," Dad explained. "I picked them up after I got your car from work. Good guy, that boss of yours." I recalled that Dad and Dan had left 1 hour/7 hours ago to move my car out of the snow equipment's way. "Where's my car now?" "It's here at the hospital. I'll bring it back to your apartment when we leave tonight." Dad pointed to the adjustable table to my left. "Your food is waiting if you want it. They brought it while you were asleep. Might be a little cold by now." I raised the bed to a sitting position. I looked at my phone, 6:34 p.m., Friday, January 2nd. I'd had a good nap. I examined the tray's contents and picked at the food, appetite minimal. "Your sister called," Mom reported. "She wondered if she should come back to Swiftcurrent to see you." "Nice of her, but I think I'll be okay." While Mom and Dad talked, my mind tried to worry about whether I had actually heard a stranger in my Paris hotel call my name. I suddenly emerged from the day skip, mid-step, heading down a set of stairs. The surprise caught me to misaim my foot, and only a quick grab for the handrail prevented a fall. "You've got to be more careful," I scolded myself, then wondered why I sounded so harsh. I descended more carefully to the ground floor. The cold bit hard as I hurried to my friend's waiting car. "Hey man, you look a little more lively than when we saw you in the hospital yesterday," greeted the sandy-haired Tyler as I jumped into the back seat. He started driving. I couldn't remember the visit, hadn't experienced it yet, but remembered Mom mentioning it. "Yeah, I feel quite a bit better," I replied. "Thanks for coming to see me." But my words had an edge to them. I could sense I was a little irritated by my near fall, by the strange incident in the Paris hotel, by the creeping stress of the larger situation in Paris. I need to say, I've never liked the expectation to perform. Call it stage fright, call it perfectionism, I don't know. But even when God is leading me towards something, I find it hard to not worry about what I have to do. My situation, containing both the strangeness of the day skipping plus the growing conviction that I was being asked to do something in Paris, was an expectation like I'd never known. It certainly explained my edgy reply to Tyler. But Tyler laughed, and by habit pushed his glasses further up on his nose. As Tyler turned onto the highway which would take us to Medicine Hat for Saturday night hockey, he and Jordan resumed a debate, which had obviously started before I got in the car, whether Team Canada would win the World Junior Hockey Tournament being played in Toronto and Montreal. Their banter helped me relax as I thought about sports, and not Paris. Eventually, a sly idea presented itself, and I couldn't help but follow through with it. "Hey guys, you know who's playing playoff football tonight, right?" I said, when the hockey talk ran out. Jordan nodded. "Yeah, Baltimore and Pittsburgh." "Care to make a prediction as to the final score?" I asked as innocently as possible. Tyler shrugged. "Okay, why not? Whoever gets closest wins a free hockey ticket next game?" "Oh sure, good idea. You guys go first." Jordan guessed 24-23 Pittsburgh. Tyler guessed 10-7 Baltimore. "I say 30-17 for Baltimore." I unsuccessfully suppressed a smile. Thankfully, the darkness hid it. Who knew that day skipping could be such an advantage? Jordan soon put on some music, his favorite band, Skillet. I watched the time crawl toward 7 o'clock. The reality of Tyler's car faded, and the reality of sitting by my kitchen table came into focus. A watering can sat by my left hand, phone by the right. I checked the phone's display. Yes, it's Sunday, January 4th, 6 p.m. By the apartment entry sat my packed bags, waiting to be brought down to the car. I guess I'm ready to go, except I should have a quick bite to eat. I opened the fridge. Plenty of leftovers to clean up. I loaded a plate and popped it in the microwave. Ate while leaning against the counter. I felt determined to proceed with the plan to leave for Regina, spend the night, and fly in the morning. But I wondered if I should stop at one of two places on the way between Swiftcurrent and Regina. Or maybe both? I finished gobbling the food, quickly scrubbed the dishes, gathered my belongings, and left the apartment at 6:10 p.m., out into the darkness and cold. The car grumbled to life. At 6:53 I passed my hometown. By then, one debate had been settled. I won't stop to see Mom and Dad. There'll be too many questions I can't answer easily. There's been no indication in any chronologically future hours that I've let them know about what I'm doing, so I won't tell them now. But I'll have to figure out what to say eventually. They will realize I'm not in Swiftcurrent. Something nagged at my mind. How does this all end for me? I know from my future day skips that I'm perfectly all right up to early Friday in Paris, but I don't know what's going to happen to me after that. I shifted in my seat. Given that I was heading into a terrorist situation, the unknown felt pretty uncomfortable. I remembered the conversation I and Ingela had/would have on the plane. Use your values to decide the unknowns. My values are faith and helping others as God guides me. Or so I tell myself. Where will those values lead me? At 6:59 p.m. I pulled onto the highway's shoulder to wait for the day skip. Once again the droning engines presented the first sensory information on the other side of the day skip. The sight of the aircraft cabin came next, then the feel of paper in my left hand, the schematic. The parts I had filled in/would fill in while in my hotel room the next day were still blank. So I guess I don't fill them in now, I reasoned, as only a day skipper could. The Swedish psychotherapist Ingela sat quietly 2 seats over, reading. It's been just minutes to her since we spoke, but it's been hours to me. I battled creeping worry over what to do in the Paris situation and whether I would live through the experience. Think about how to decide, not what to decide. So I acted inwardly. The first idea Ingela got out of me was pray and ask for God's guidance. I paused. It often helps me to pray when I use the words of Scripture, at least as a starting point. So I rose, again pulled my carry-on bag from the overhead compartments, and stowed the schematic. I sat down with my Bible. I noticed with peripheral vision that Ingela watched. Guidance, wisdom, making decisions. The thought came. Something from Colossians chapter 1. I flipped there. Yeah, verses 9 to 14. And so I prayerfully paraphrased what I read. God, I ask that you give me knowledge of your will, and that you give me wisdom and understanding, in order that the way I live will honor and please you, and that my life will produce every kind of good thing. I want to grow as I learn to know you better and better. I also pray that I will be strengthened with all your glorious power, so I will have all the endurance and patience I need. And so on, until I felt done. I leaned my head back against the seat, calm. Now I've got to trust God will help me in His own time. He's helped me already, right? A flight attendant came by with drinks. The clock registered 39 minutes past the hour. Ingela asked, Do you mind if I question you again, Kyle? She didn't wait for an answer. You told me earlier that praying to God is one of the criteria you would like to use to make your decision. Just now you were reading a Bible. You are... Yeah, I nodded with a smile and pointed to myself. Jesus freak. Her look of confusion told me the phrase didn't translate well, so I quickly added, meaning, yes, I believe in him. Christian. You know, Ingela continued after a sip of her drink, Christianity is not much of a daily presence in my country. I encountered much more of it as an exchange student all those years ago in your province. I still see the Jesus faith mentioned in the online postings of some of my former Canadian classmates. Oh, okay, I responded, while wondering about Paris. Keep focused. I felt a kind of nudge to take the conversation further. So I asked, Do you consider yourself a Christian? Ingela smiled, but shook her head. However, she added, I know that some people, like yourself, find a lot of value in their Christian faith. If you don't mind me asking, what stops you? It was Ingela's turn to think before she answered. Well, a couple of things, I suppose. For one, Christianity is hard to believe. Jesus as a good spiritual teacher? That's not hard. Jesus as part God, part human, who did miracles and rose from the dead? That's hard. She continued, Secondly, it seems like Christianity is yesterday's attempted response to the human problem. Not to be offensive, but I don't think the response of Christianity has been a convincing one. I really felt no surprise at those reasons. They're what has often been said by many people. I also knew that an attempt to counter those reasons would often be met with unwillingness to think differently. So I took a different approach. Well, I won't attempt to provide an answer to those kind of questions unless you want my response. Instead, I looked her in the eye. Try experiencing Jesus. One verse in the Psalm says, Taste and see that the Lord is good. In other words, just like we cannot fully know the goodness of a piece of fruit unless we taste it, so we cannot know the goodness of Jesus unless we trust in him. My words reminded me to practice what I was preaching. Trust. Ingela considered this. An interesting proposal, Kyle Stone, she responded. She turned to face the window, even though there was nothing to see but darkness. I leaned back against the seat, closed my eyes, and waited for the next day skip to take me back to Paris. I soon saw myself in the washroom mirror of my hotel room. My right hand clasped the handle of a toothbrush. The brush end was hidden inside my mouth. For a moment I didn't move. My hands seemed to have forgotten what to do. I laughed at myself and managed to complete my bedtime routine. The schematic lay on the bedside table. I took it and filled in the rectangles of the 7 hours I'd experienced since last working on it, 1 hour ago. I thought about the next 2 hours I would experience, the 1 a.m. hour Paris time on Thursday and Friday, which is the 6 p.m. hour back in Saskatchewan. Sleeping on Thursday, back to a half-remembered crazy dream? Then, back to the strange incident on Friday, if that wasn't a dream. The clock displayed 1:23 a.m. I turned on the TV. As I watched, I felt my eyelids grow heavy. No, I don't want the stew, I mumbled. I seemed to be in an elaborate dining room where a horse stood near an open window. My sister sat next to the animal. I jumped a little as I day-skipped into Friday. My head stuck through my open door, into the hallway of the Hotel International. I watched a man leap toward the elevator, but it was too late. The dark-haired woman was gone. The man whirled toward me, maybe in his 50s, dressed in his pajamas. "Was that your girlfriend?" he demanded. I detected an American accent. I opened the door further and stepped out. "No, I don't know who that was," I replied. "What happened?" "That little missy somehow came into our locked room, and scared the tar out of me and my wife. I fell out of bed, and all she could say before she slammed the door was, 'Sorry, wrong room.' Let me tell you, the management's gonna hear about this." He turned toward the elevator and jabbed his finger at the control button. "What a country," he muttered. "Charlie Hebdo, policewoman murdered, terrorists holding up gas stations. So much for our vacation." The elevator arrived and he stepped inside. I didn't envy whomever was on duty at the reception desk. I went back into my room, relieved. I must have not heard right when I thought she called my name. But something else bugged me, something the man had said. Honestly, I didn't feel like thinking about it. I read for half an hour until I got sleepy, then switched off the light.